Hello students. After completing the detailed pharmacology of anti-diabetic agents including insulin as well as orally acting anti-diabetic agents, now it's time to apply this knowledge for the selection of the drug in a particular case of diabetes. So in today's session, we will discuss about selection of P drug for the different clinical conditions in diabetes mellitus and to evaluate the rationality of different anti-diabetic fixed dose combinations available in market. So the learning objectives of today's sessions are: students should know about the different clinical conditions in diabetes, then able to select the P drug for all these conditions, to evaluate the rationality of anti-diabetic fixed dose combination. This we will discuss one by one. So a case 1. A 21 years old male diagnosed accidentally as having type 1 diabetes during a routine health checkup. His fasting blood sugar is 150 mg per deciliter and postprandial blood sugar is 240 mg per deciliter. Now we have to prescribe the drug therapy for the management of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Now, as you all know that if the fasting blood sugar is more than 126 and postprandial blood sugar is more than 150, it means that the patient is having diabetes. Now you don't have, in pharmacology at the level of the second MBBS, you don't have to diagnose the condition, but at the same time you should aware about the clinical scenario. Okay. So here is a case of type 1 diabetes mellitus, and you all know that in the type 1 diabetes there is an complete absolute deficiency of the insulin, and that's why insulin is the only therapy. But before jump to the selection of P drug in this case, we just briefly revise the steps for the selection of P drug. First and foremost is identify the problem. What is the problem? Then next is define the therapeutic objectives. What are your different therapeutic objectives? Then enlist effective drug groups for that condition. And out of these selected drug groups, you have to select the most effective, most appropriate drug group in this condition. And in this, again you have to select the most appropriate agent from this group, and finally you have to write the prescription. So now here in this case, what is the problem? The problem is type 1 diabetes. So what should be the therapeutic objective? Your first and foremost is to control the blood sugar level, and again very important is round the clock control of blood sugar level. And again, a very tight control of blood sugar is not required, and many a times it is hazardous also, because there is a risk of hypoglycemia. Okay, so control of blood sugar level is your first aim. Then second is prevention of hypoglycemia, and third, as it will remain a lifelong disease, so you have to educate the patient about this disease, about the role of the insulin, what can be the possible consequences if he or she omits the dose of the insulin or accidentally increase the dose of the insulin. Then education about the diet, exercise, and the signs of hypoglycemia. All these must be explained to the patients. And if you will control the blood sugar level, if you maintain it, if you prevent the hypoglycemia, so in nutshell you are preventing the development of complications also. So now effective drug groups, as I have told you previously that insulin is the only therapy for type 1 diabetes. So now which are the different drug groups? Here the drug groups in terms of the insulin from different sources, either the animal insulin preparation or the human insulin preparations or the insulin analogs. Now animal insulin preparations, you know, the initially when the insulin therapy has been discovered and started, bovine and porcine insulins are used, but because of their antigenicity, development of antibodies, insulin resistance, and various other adverse reactions, except the advantage of the cost, now animal insulin is not at all preferred. They are obsolete. So now we have to select either from the human insulin preparation and the insulin analogs. Now the problem of the animal insulin are overcome by the human insulin, which is prepared by recombinant DNA technology. And different human insulin preparations like short acting, intermediate acting, long acting we can prepare with the help of addition of zinc and protamine. Then insulin analogs, they are developed by change in the sequence of the amino acid in the insulin. And insulin, you all know that it is a made up of two polypeptide chain joined by two disulfide linkage. But the purpose of changing the amino acid sequence is to achieve the better pharmacokinetic profile. There are certain ultra short acting insulin preparations which are very rapidly orally absorbed. So you can take this preparation just before the meal or even after the meal. So it will improve the postprandial blood sugar control. And there are long acting preparation like glargine, which is having a peakless effects, and that's why the chances of the hypoglycemia is negligible. But definitely these insulin analogs are better in controlling the blood sugar in type 1 diabetes as compared to the human insulin, but cost is a big factor. There is a significant difference in the cost between the human insulin preparations and insulin analogs. And as you all know that it will be a lifelong condition, so cost will be a major determinant factor. And because of this, the effective drug group is human insulin. Now, what should be our aim? To control the blood sugar. Now, to control the blood sugar means two aspects. One is to control the basal blood sugar level, and second is to control the postprandial blood sugar level. Now, short acting insulin like a regular or soluble insulin, it will control the postprandial hyperglycemia, but at the same time it is having a shorter duration of action, and that's why you cannot use this preparation for round the clock. Otherwise you have to give 4 to 5 daily injections, and the patient's compliance is poor. Fine. So for basal blood sugar, intermediate acting insulin, they are helpful because their duration is around 20 to 24 hours, and they will control the basal blood sugar level. But we want to achieve the both, and that's why both of these preparations should be given simultaneously. So the ideally effective drug is combination of short acting and intermediate acting insulin. And the dosage regime, normally the requirement in a type 1 diabetes is 0.6 to 0.7 units per kg per day, and in this case 45 kg, so around 30 units per day. Now these 30 units is to be divided in 50-50 because some units are used to control the basal blood sugar level and some are used to control the postprandial blood sugar level. And that's why the mixture of human soluble insulin and isofen insulin, it is available as a 50-50 combination, and it is also available as a 30-70 combinations. Okay. So the 15 units it has to be administered before breakfast, and 15 units it has to be administered before dinner. So in dosage 0.3 ml before breakfast and 0.3 ml before dinner. Okay. Now this is in detailed calculation, okay, about this prescription, and patients should also be instructed about the timing of the drug administration, timing of the food intake, type of the food intake, amount of the food intake, okay, and review after 15 days. Now the case 2. A 43 years old male patient, weight 79 kg, consulted a physician with complaints of polyuria, polyphagia, polydipsia, weakness and easy fatigability. During laboratory examination, his fasting blood sugar was 140 mg per deciliter and postprandial blood sugar was 230 mg per deciliter and the glycosylated hemoglobin level is 7.5. So he was diagnosed as having type 2 diabetes. He was advised for diet and lifestyle modification for 3 months, but presently after this his blood sugar level has shown no improvement and you have been asked to prescribe the drug therapy for the management of type 2 diabetes. So now here you have to select a drug for a newly detected type 2 diabetes which is not controlled with diet and lifestyle modification. In type 2 diabetes, as you all know that the primary problem is not the insulin deficiency, but the problem is the peripheral tissues are not able to utilize the glucose and the insulin sensitivity is reduced, or you can say that insulin resistance is there. Okay, now again we will go step by step for the selection of the P drug. So what is the problem? The problem is type 2 diabetes. What are your therapeutic objectives? Objectives is to control the blood sugar level round the clock without the incidence or there is a hypoglycemia, and as you tightly control the blood sugar level you can prevent the complications. And again the same instructions that we have given to the patient in case of the type 1 diabetes regarding the diet, exercise, signs and symptoms of hypoglycemia, all these must be educated to the patient. So patient education. So to control the blood sugar level, not at the cost of the hypoglycemia, and patient education. These are the therapeutic objectives. Now, which are the effective drug groups? As you all know that the type 2 diabetes, it can initially be treated with an oral anti-diabetic agents, and if these agents, and you have to start with a monotherapy, and if the blood sugar is not controlled with the maximally achieved dose of a single oral anti-diabetic agents, then you have to add the second agent, third agents, and if it not controlled with the combination of oral anti-diabetic agents, then you have to add the insulin. So presently, as it is a newly detected case, I have not mentioned the insulin. So the effective drug groups are biguanides, that is metformin, sulfonylureas, that is glipizide, glibenclamide, gliclazide, glimepiride, thiazolidinediones, that is pioglitazone, meglitinides, that is repaglinide and netaglinide, DPP4 inhibitors, that are sitagliptin, saxagliptin, vildagliptin, and alpha glucosidase inhibitors. These are acarbose, guargam, miglitol and voglibose. Now you will tell that why I have directly selected the metformin. The reason is that there are three different drug groups. If you carefully look at the classification, one is the insulin secretagogues, sulfonylurea, then DPP4 inhibitors, then meglitinides. Now in the type 2 diabetes, the problem is not there in the insulin secretion, and by stimulating the pancreatic beta cells and by giving the insulin secretagogue, we are actually hastening the progression of the disease. Now the remaining drug group is pioglitazone and metformin. The pioglitazone is only used as an add-on therapy to the sulfonylurea and metformin when the blood sugar level is not controlled with these two agents. And here is a newly detected case, so we have to start with the monotherapy, and that's why we have to start with the metformin. There are many advantages of the metformin, that it increases the peripheral utilization of the glucose. It improves the insulin resistance. Then, as it is not an insulin secretagogue, it prevents the beta cells exhaustion. Then, as it is not an insulin secretagogue, the risk of the hypoglycemia is very less. Then metformin, it reduces the appetite and it is somewhat having weight loss promoting action. And you know that the obesity increases the insulin resistance, and it will again increases the problem in the type 2 diabetes. So sulfonylurea produces weight gain, and on the contrary, metformin produces weight loss. Yes, it is a favorable effect on the lipid profile, because diabetes is not a single metabolic disorder affecting the carbohydrate metabolism. It affects all the metabolism. And last, it has been found that early introduction of the metformin, it will prevent the microvascular and macrovascular complications of diabetes, and that's why the metformin is the preferred agent. And the prescription is tablet metformin 500 milligram, one tablet to be taken before breakfast and one tablet to be taken before dinner. And again, educate the patient about the timing of the drug administration, food intake, type of food intake, and all the details, and explain the patients about the early side effects of the metformin. That is very important to improve the patient compliance. If you have already informed the patients regarding the geriatric adverse effect of metformin, like the flatulence, then abdominal heaviness, discomfort, metallic taste, then patient will not be too much distressed because of these side effects. And if the reassurance has been given that these side effects will disappear after a few weeks or months, then definitely the patient compliance will be better. And review after 1 month, or if any problem occurs. Here I have not written the prescription because of the constraint of the space, but you don't have to write the prescription like this. In the exam, you have to write the prescription in a proper format, including the superscription, inscription, subscription, transcription, and signature. Now the third case, a 50 years old female patient presented in emergency department in an unconscious condition. Okay, and her relative told that there is a known case of type 2 diabetes since last 5 years. For the control of the blood sugar, she was taking tablet glipizide 5 milligram 3 times a day, and she has not taken the lunch today. Her blood pressure, her ECG and respiratory rate are absolutely normal during the examination, but blood sugar is only 35 milligram per deciliter. So she is diagnosed as having hypoglycemia, and you have to prescribe the drug therapy for hypoglycemia. So what is the problem? Problem is hypoglycemia. And what are the therapeutic objectives? You have to improve the blood sugar level as early as possible, because the hypoglycemia is more dangerous than hyperglycemia. So you have to achieve the blood sugar level as early as possible. Then your second aim is to maintain this blood sugar level, and third is, once the patient conscious and the emergency over, then explain the patient about the importance of the diet, lifestyle measures, and the drug therapy. And you have to explain the patients regarding the signs of the hypoglycemia and gravity of this condition. So this is the problem, and these are our therapeutic objectives. Now effective drug groups, we are having two effective drug groups. One is the glucose and the glucagon. Glucose you can give, you are having two choice, oral and parenteral. It is very obvious that oral glucose is easily available, but it can only be administered in a conscious patient, and generally that to give the 20 gram of oral glucose, and then you look for the improvement. But if the patient is unconscious, you have to administer the intravenous glucose in terms of intravenous dextrose. Another is glucagon. Now, glucagon stimulates the glycogenolysis and it will make the glucose available. Okay. So, but it is given either subcutaneous or the intramuscular route. But it is not effective in glycogen depleted individuals. And who are the glycogen depleted individuals? The person who is alcoholic and significant alcoholism induced hypoglycemia. In that case, the glucagon is not effective. But as you look at the availability, ease, everything, so the glucose or the carbohydrate is the treatment of choice. And here, as the patient is unconscious, you have to administer the drug by the intravenous route. So injection dextrose 25% 50 ml per ampule, inject 2 to 4 ampule IV stat. You have to administer the 4 ampules IV stat and you have to do the frequent review. Now this is not a particular dose for a case of hypoglycemia. You have to frequently check, and according to the blood sugar, according to the clinical picture of the patients, you have to change the dose and the drug. So this is all about the treatment of hypoglycemia. But one thing must keep in your mind, that hypoglycemia is very dangerous. Hypoglycemia, it is essential to be treated as early as possible, because initially there are symptoms of sympathetic overactivity, but later on there are symptoms of neuroglycopenia, and that will lead to persistent brain deficit. Okay. So now the next case, a 12 years, weight 40 kg old child attended emergency department with profuse vomiting, abdominal pain, signs of dehydration, fruity breath odor and altered sensorium. Laboratory findings are the blood sugar level is 300 mg per deciliter and pH is 6, it's highly acidic pH, WBC count 15,000, and patient is a known case of type 1 diabetes since last 3 years and is taking the insulin combinations of insulin. So, this is a classical case of diabetic ketoacidosis and you have to prescribe the drug therapy. I will not go into the detail of this case because I have taken a separate lecture on the diabetic ketoacidosis in which I have mentioned in detail about what are the treatment objectives, which should be your first priority, the drug should be given in which sequence, by which route. So, we just quickly overlook all this. So the therapeutic objective is to correct in the diabetic ketoacidosis. The problems are significant fluid and electrolyte imbalance, dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. Second is the rise in the blood sugar level, so you have to control this hyperglycemia. And third is you have to identify the cause and to treat it. And in the most common cause is infection, and next is to prevent the recurrence. So patient education. So correction of the fluid and the electrolytes, correction of the blood sugar, treatment of the underlying cause, that is mainly infection, and educate the patients for the prevention of recurrence. Now for the fluid and the electrolyte, isotonic saline. For the blood sugar, IV regular insulin. Now in the diabetic ketoacidosis, there is a significant potassium loss, so intravenous potassium chloride. If there is a bicarbonate significant loss or the pH remains acidic even after the administration of fluids and regular insulin, then give sodium bicarbonate. If hypophosphatemia, then give phosphate. And as I have told you, the most common cause is infection, so intravenous antimicrobials. And this is the prescription I will not go into the detail. Injection normal saline 0.9% NaCl. Then injection regular insulin 0.1 unit per kg. Stat. Then initially stat followed by regular insulin intravenous infusion. Then important thing is, I have forgotten to highlight that injection potassium chloride, and then if required injection sodium bicarbonate, and in case of the infection injectable antimicrobials. You can go through or you can refer my previous class on the diabetic ketoacidosis. So we have discussed the 4 different conditions. One is the type 1 diabetes, second is the newly detected type 2 diabetes, third one is the hypoglycemia, and the fourth one is diabetic ketoacidosis. Now we have to evaluate the certain fixed dose combinations. Now how you will evaluate the FTCs? First and foremost, whether both or if there are 3 drugs, all the drugs are required or not. Then it means that there is a definite need of more than one drug or all the drug in a particular combination. If yes, then if the doses are adequate. If yes, then whether the adverse effects are not simply the ADAP. And finally, the pharmacokinetic profile must be matching, and lastly the cost. So we will consider or we will discuss this in the following examples. Most commonly used combinations: tablet glipizide 5 mg and tablet metformin 500 mg for type 2 diabetes. Now, so glipizide is a sulfonylurea, it is an insulin secretagogue and it is indicated. The dose is 5 mg is also adequate. Then tablet metformin, it is an biguanide, it is also indicated and dose is adequate. And here you can see that both the drugs, glipizide is from the sulfonylurea and metformin is a biguanide. So both these drugs are from the different groups. So they are having a different mechanism of action, and the chances of hypoglycemia, it will not be more with this combination. Okay. And because of the different mechanism, better control of the blood sugar can be achieved. But the only condition is that those patients in whom the glipizide and metformin alone, they are not effective in controlling the blood sugar, in these cases only this combination is rational. Okay. So combination is rational in whom the blood sugar can't be maintained with the maximum tolerated dose of either sulfonylurea or biguanide. Next, exactly similar, tablet glibenclamide 5 mg plus metformin XR sustained release 500 mg. Here the pharmacokinetic profile is also matching because glibenclamide is relatively longer acting. Its plasma apply and metformin XR, it can be comparable. Okay. Otherwise the glibenclamide is sulfonylurea, indicated, dose adequate. Same way with the metformin. Both the drugs are from the different groups, so they are having different mechanism of action. Better control of the blood sugar without increasing the dose, it means that without increasing the risk of the hypoglycemia. And the condition is that combination is rational in whom the blood sugar can't be maintained with the maximum tolerated dose of either sulfonylurea or biguanide. Okay. Now yes, the next, the fixed dose combination of human soluble insulin 50% and isofen insulin 50%, 40 units per ml, prescribed for type 1 diabetes. Now the soluble insulin, it is also known as a regular insulin. You know that it is a short acting insulin. It controls the postprandial blood sugar level. Isofen insulin. Okay. also known as a neutral protamine hagedron, NPH insulin. It is an intermediate acting, so it will control the basal blood sugar level. And if you give the combination, you all know that we need in the diabetes, we need the control of both postprandial blood sugar as well as the basal blood sugar level, and that's why the combination is rational. Same way, here you can see that here the combination is available as a 50-50, while the same can be available as a regular insulin or soluble insulin 30% and isofine insulin 70%. It can also be used, and both these preparations are rational. On the contrary, these must be used in combinations only, because neither of these agents alone can control the blood sugar level for 24 hours. So, this is all about the different clinical conditions in diabetes, that the P drug selected, the rationale for the selecting the P drug and steps for the selecting P drug, as well as the evaluation of the different anti-diabetic combinations available in the market. Fine. So, in the next time we will come up with a new topic. So till then, just go through the diabetes. And yes, I came to know that you have not very much happy of my previous presentation, that incretin based therapy and all that, because of the poor visibility. As the time permits, I will again take these classes, but till that, keep sharing your knowledge and keep learning. Thanks a lot.